Welcome to Stone Soup Poetry tonight. This is the last open mic reading of 2022, a year that could be described as a flaming dumpster fire on top of another flaming dumpster. So we will have fond memories of mocking 2022 once it's firmly away from us. I'm not going to actually do that until March because I want to make sure. So appreciate all you guys making 2002 1,000 times more bearable. Moving forward, we're going to be trying to work on more online features, as well as booking more features for the in-person shows at the Assemblage Gallery in Boston, and hopefully making them hybrid enough so other people can at least view them, if not participate in the open mic. But hopefully, ideally, as we develop, we'll be able to do all of that at once. We have some exciting new people at the gallery who I'm working with. Dwayne is a big supporter, and this should be the month that we're getting a second in-person show added to our agenda. And hopefully that will take off. We need to announce a date, and we need to announce it soon. This is the sad news. We just had a passing of a friend of Stone Soup not too long ago. Some of you may have seen the news for it on the Facebook group. And I want to try and get the person who spread it first. Yeah, it was Jim Dunn who had mentioned it to me. Actually, several people have been mentioning it to me. I believe John was one as well. Actually, John, do you want to say?
Do I want to what?
Oh, I didn't know if you had a word on this, if you had any words to say on the passing of Sarah Jensen.
No.
Okay. Well, Sarah Jensen was a friend of Stone Soup. She was a bit before my time, a supporter of Jack Powers' work. I found out that she passed away over the holiday weekend. This is following a successful move to Michigan. And we're still getting information. I believe the obituary was just handed out today, and it's been sent to me. I'll be posting it later on tonight. I'll be working with Jim Dunn as well as with Dwayne at the Fort Point Gallery to see if we can have a memorial tribute open mic night in honor of Sarah, and that'll probably be the first. I wasn't expecting our first open mic to have a theme, but that's what we're gonna try and do. Anyone who has any kind words or a eulogy for Sarah, if they want to have me included on the Facebook, on the not the Facebook, but the actual Stone Soup website at stonesoup.blogspot.com, I would be more than happy to add that. So please let me know, and I'll see if I can find the Sarah Jensen obituary. I will definitely do so. And our first feature for in person on January 11th. Is going to be David Miller, multiple author at this point, author of chapbooks and poetry collections. He is actually almost doing another month-long world tour in February, and we're glad in January, and we're glad to be one of his stops. I hope you guys, as many of you as possible, can be there for that in person. And more features are going to be added, hopefully by the end of this year. Hopefully at least one more live show. We've got some people who've confirmed that they want to be part of it.
I've seen it from somewhere.
And we'll let you know more. And with that, the Ramdonator 5000 has gone through the names and picked the person to start off the open mic. Thanks to all you brave people for having your names, whether willingly or not, inserted into the Ramdonator 5000. And let's welcome up Rita Rusty Rose as our Break the Ice open micer.
I'm so sorry for the loss of Sarah. It's a great loss. And on Long Island, we also lost Mark Rosen, a poet, LGBTQ activist, disability activist, and a heck of a wonderful guy. And we're still reeling from that too. What I'm going to put up, I think you've heard this before. I'll start with, disable share screen. Okay, so then I'll just read
I'll get it. I'll get it to share screen.
Oh,
just give me one second.
Well, it's a little happy, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, this, that, and Merry Christmas. But the children like this little sonnet that every year I recite for them. So we'll start off with Santa Sonnet. He comes in the wee of Christmas morning, when all are asleep, counting their sheep, across rooftops and lawns, jangling buck horns, frolicking and taking one final leap, and with a ho, ho, ho leading the way, his beard of white and cap of red and green, Santa Claus rides his magical sleigh, talking to reindeer in language of neigh, and balancing atop chimneys they do stop, helping Kris Kringle bring gifts to good girls and boys, and stuffing so many colorful socks, a token of love, sweets, clothing, and toys, spreading love and joy, he is on his way, vowing to return one more Christmas Day.
Thank you very much, Rita. And up next, he's been away for a while because he's been job hunting, but now he has a job and he's on the job now as your open micer, second icebreaker to kick us off. Let's welcome up Ed Galt, otherwise known as Magister Galt, to throw off the people checking out his personal life on the internet. Very clever. Whoops, looks like you're muted. Looks like you're muted still, sir.
Okay, this one is saying goodbye. Saying goodbye. When her daddy pulled to the side of the road, she took me out and walked me to the telephone pole and tied me there. She was crying now. She told me that I was her best friend in the whole wide world, but she couldn't keep me anymore. Her daddy lost his job. His boss had moved the plant to a faraway country. She didn't know where. They had to move to Grandma and Grandpa's place until he could find another one. She said she hoped I might be able to find her someday after one of those long journeys, like the kind she saw in this movie once. She would be coming home from school one day, and there I'd be on the porch waiting. She would be looking out for me every day, hoping. She would always remember me for as long as she lived. She promised. Her daddy called from the car. They had to go now. She hugged me, then left me without looking back. I watched the little cloud behind the car as it became a little speck on the horizon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Magister Galt. It gives me great pleasure to welcome back to the open mic and have as the third icebreaker. Okay, I'll just stop doing the icebreaker joke. Someone who had a real awesome feature with us online earlier this year, not content to sit on her laurels. She is back with us again, hopefully working on that poetry full-length collection. Let's welcome up Mary Jennings.
Thank you, Chad. Yeah, I remember you challenged me at the last feature to go out and get published, and you already know I already got published, not just one, but I had 3 publications in a month's time. But right now I am right now focusing on hosting a poetry event in Chicopee. An open mic. I'll be getting details out on that later. So, and I am working on the full length. I'm working on the full length book, so I'm on. Good. Okay. Deconsecration. Recede from the creed from the screed, once declared inviolate from the stir of sin. When the sanctuary is sold, there will be no constraints. No one's taken leave of their senses. There is a new sacredness abound that is not rooted in scare tactics, that is ascending the stars from the ground up. Thank you.
Hmm.
Thanks.
From consecration to blasphemy, we move on now to our favorite hippopotamus balladeer. Let's welcome up Mr. Bill Lewis.
Yo ho 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 ho, ladies and gentlemen, you are so mean to me, Chad. You make me sound like I'm as nuts as I actually am. Wasn't that cool? You could do that with your thumb finger. One of those things. What one does the thumb count as the finger or not? Do we have 2 thumbs and 8 fingers, or do we have 10 fingers? Well, you figured that out. You're the philosophers.
My father put it this way: see my pinky, see my thumb, see my best fist, you better run. Anyway,
Woo! Anyway, I was thinking that I wanted to be less programmatic, less, do more like some of you guys are all doing in poetry, being more flowery or impressionable or something. And yeah, whatever. So this is my attempt at not having a story, but I'm failing. Oh, what the hell? Idaho, 1972 winter. Yeah, it was cold. Silent snow, frozen motionless on the limbs and needles. Silent, waiting. A puff, not even a whisper, just enough to bend a branch. And shining diamonds sparkling the bright sunshine as they spread like dust and cover my face. Little pinpricks of cold, they tickle. They hang on my eyelashes and emit rainbows of color in a land of white. Silence. I'm motionless in my snow angel, half buried, white. It's cold, but almost warm. I could just fall asleep forever. Perhaps a princess will come and kiss me. Silence, not a car, not a bird, not a voice, not a breeze, stillness. A puff of air, a clump of cold down my neck. Whose woods these are, I think I know. It's not as romantic though, not like a fairy tale when you're cold and wet. That guy had a sleigh and a horse. I'm hoping to hitchhike a ride on the road before sundown. And I head to the road. My green aluminum backpack frame and matching bag and World War II sleeping bag and a smile. And I'm happy. I'm always happy. A pickup truck. 100 miles, a moose burger, and a couch for the night. I'm happy.
thank you, Bill. And up next. Who is next? Yes, let's welcome up next. Miss Jan Rowe. Jan, are you ready?
There you go.
Hi. This is just a rough draft. Ray Suarez didn't know where he had gone. He'd been on PBS and also CNN and lost his job when Al Jazeera America had to stop. So he's doing a series on Intercept about the administrative burden to keep those deserving from receiving. And I've experienced this with people, helping them with paperwork that really freaks them out. So Rick Scott is the head of the RNC, the Republican National Convention, and he's the former head of Healthcare of America, which committed the biggest fraud ever against Medicare or Medicaid, and should have been, he should be in jail, but he's in the Senate. Well, you know, anyway. He also, I know it's not nice, but he reminds me of Voldemort in Harry Potter. And he made the Florida unemployment system deliberately hard because he didn't want the numbers to make him look bad. So that's Rick Scott, the head of the RNC. Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much, Jan. And now up next, Brandon 5000 has selected. Let's welcome up Mr. John Engstrom.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great, okay. The poem, my poem that I have is called My Thesis Scrambled Like an Egg. In 1998, I wrote a master's thesis on American history for a graduate program at Tufts University. The work gathered dust for over a decade until I grew impatient with its lack of movement and performed a Dada-like intervention on a portion of it. The result follows. Ui boas natker te get abt, but gestuk is it vitik abiker, orabst ub azed gestukut irugubak, napi scruat rigtuib, was to got skewers if keter orivak refers t dr uza his parents in a person guilty of poisoning get truculence in poisoned myth Mercury imagination, the rebellious slave.
Very nice. And who do we have next up for grabs? Oh, let's bring us now to legacy poet Julian Powers, with hopefully a special guest appearance by our Pug.
Thanks, Chad. Once the burning bush begins to turn, the light in my heart dims, and that familiar dread creeps in. Then I sink deep down, knowing what's to come. Leaves slowly turning, heart-rending shades. That damn bush's signature blaze marks the days of blood and harvesting. There's too many endings that accompany autumn. When I see the asters welcoming it in, no longer can I avoid thinking about what's coming next. Thank you.
Okay, Carol, you're coming back. Okay, sorry about that. We had a little issue getting Carol back on. And she is back on now. Whoops, forgive the echo. And now. There we go. That should take care of that. And so now let's bring up, if she's already unmuted, so she can hit the ground running again. Let's welcome up Carol Weston. Carol? Carol, can you hear us? Carol? Okay, then we'll go to an interlude. Hopefully he's feeling much better. Hopefully feeling much better than from last week. We're gonna bring us up to Mr. Ethan Mackler. Hooray. Didn't miss a beat. Bravo, Ethan. Thanks for coming back. And now we're going to take a chance again and see if Carol is available. Carol, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Carol Weston.
Hey, this is, he was good with a gun. Uncle Robert stood with his personal bomb by Aunt Christine Weston, who he found in India. He stood back too to the fireplace at Aunt Nancy's on the North Shore. I was astonished by his beautifully chiseled face, sort of like that of a tiger. In India, he could suck his hand to call tigers, and when they came, he shot them. He was good with a gun. 54, he knew exactly where he had to shoot, kill himself. The God had accepted invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Wonderful. Well, I thought we were going to be joined by a couple more people, but the post-holiday blues are hitting everyone, or at least the post-holiday droning sleeps, which is what I had for 2 or 3 days. Let's welcome up now someone who has been with us for just about every darn online gathering we've had. Our penultimate closer, check out his column, It's All One Thing at oddballmagazine.com, and consider submitting again. Even if you have recently, 2023 is a whole new year. And we're always looking for new work. We're looking for timely work. And we're gonna catch up with our submission back pile soon. So we're always looking. Let's welcome up for now, Mr. James Van Loy.
Thanks, Chad. So I have a piece here which is called On to Crimea. On to Crimea. There already was a Crimean War, of course, 1853 to 56. Ottoman Empire propped up by England and France from faltering stance of old men who finally collapsed in World War I axis of Germany and Austro-Hungarian crisis, when those empires all went down. But back in the 1850s Crimea, there was, as today, a Baltic battle, Russian ships stuck in their ports, protected by artillery on walls. Russia was so humiliated by defeat. They undertook a massive industrial expansion that became the Revolution of October 1917, and a manufacturing system that made them the military might that tore the guts out of Hitler's blitzkrieg. So we've been hearing over and over again about Chamberlain's Munich appeasement, and Hitler keeps coming back over and over again as nationalist Ho Chi Minh or Iraq's Saddam Hussein or Libya's Gaddafi, justifying one war after another and another, but no one ever looks back to the world crisis, 1848, the year of revolutions, through to the 1870s and the Paris Commune and the Franco-Prussian whirlwind war that changed everything when Germany and Italy became nation states instead of a pact of principalities incapable of creating a military tyrant like Mussolini and Hitler. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And with that, our second of two round robins begins back at the beginning where we began before. And our first person, as pre-chosen by Randinator 5000, is Rusty Rose, or Rita Rusty Rose again, or Rusty Rosie Rita. I'll take
Yes.
it. I'm sure she'll accept any of those as long as I let her read.
Thank you, Chad. This is fairly new. And this is for my father. And as you could see, that's a picture of Dad and I building our summer home on the east end of Long Island. This is Daddy. Daddy, I thought it you, this hulking form hovering over the love seat wicker on my sunlit porch. A distinct thick-armed likeness caught my eye, rested along the front gate, bonding with steely golden heart. Mid-afternoon shadows wrestled and comfortably settled into your favorite spot, across from the flat-screen TV. Evening approached and found me in your easy chair, eyes closed, content with succinct memories. I thought it you, these wistful visions frolicking across the delicate fabric of my mind, enchanting as if an impish child had lowered a shade over my eyes, playing in my aging brain. Daddy, could it be you, this darkened light, the perpetual sight, who has come to take me home?
Thank you, Rita. And again, my condolences on the loss of your friend. It looked like it was a good tribute.
Thank you, Chad.
And moving forward, we are going to go back to Mr. Magister Galt, who needs to unmute himself. Still muted. Ed, you're still muted. We can't hear a word you're saying. There
Oh,
you
I'm
go.
sorry. I was gonna say that I got this hat from you and I noticed that all the lettering is backwards. It's okay, I'm dyslexic, I can deal with it. The next best thing would have been if it were in Russian, it would have been all set, you know, the letters are backwards there anyway. Anyway, this one is really new, and I haven't even gotten a title for it yet. I accidentally called it Saying Goodbye, but then I realized I had another poem by that name. So I'm trying to think of something else. So maybe if I'm reading this through, you can maybe think of a good name for it. Okay. I must confess, I missed something. I had such faith in us. I didn't see a lot of what I should have. I didn't see that you were unhappy. I guess because I was happy, I thought you were too. You didn't tell me. So how could I have known? I'll take the hit for my part. I must have made many mistakes, never knowing I was committing them. We had always been strong, weathering hard times, yet always coming out stronger than before. I heard people say that they wish they could have been us. We were the picture of happiness. Walks on the esplanade, looking at the fountain lit up against the night sky, and the ice sculptures on New Year's Eve. The dove signaled the good times ahead. There were candles, I got you. The sculpture of Oakman, you got me. All the times we spent in cafes, all the movies we'd seen. The good times we had, all I thought were bringing us together. But now, for whatever reason, you have turned our past against me. You have called me manipulator and every hellacious name you could think of. Without warning, it seems, without any attempt to talk, to let me know how you were hurting, how you were changing. We all change, but weren't we supposed to change together? I can remember your first hello, and now you're saying goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Moving on down. It looks like we had to say goodbye to Bill. He was off to another Zoom. But we still have our third icebreaker up and ready to go. Let's give it up for Mary Jennings.
Thank you, Chad. Okay, this one is called Into the Lone Open Fields. Took the leap of faith to go lone wolf. Partnerships don't just fold, they're spindled and mutilated. Pay when you can for needed assistance. No more compromises to see what the shepherd sees as standard practice. Just say yes and we'll be in the money. Open and trusting, you had no clue, but you had a talent for prying. Didn't want to be the kind, but there is fun. If bureaucracy was hierarchy, you're in mode. Here's where structure falls apart, but everything is spread out. Breathe in the ether of the lone open fields. Gather what you may to rebuild and renew. Thank you. Chad, unmute.
Thank you, Rob. Oops. And now, given that Bill is gone, we now move over to Jan, who hopefully has another rough draft or a finished draft.
Okay, sorry, this is another rough draft from today. It has the title though. Not again. Another sports arena people paying. So Buffalo has been without power for 4 or 5 days. In March, it was approved 850 million for a Buffalo Bills sports arena Coliseum. Now, recently, Carrie O'Horn was arrested and slammed to the ground when she questioned why these police had looters sitting in the snow with the trunk open, even though they were looters, they were in the snow. So then she was slammed to the ground. Now, remember when that elder was slammed to the ground in Buffalo, and then Lawrence Tribe and the Harvard defenders went out and got her pension and got some justice for Kai Wachowski because he was slamming black kids' heads one by one into, like Trump said, slam their heads. And one of his cops with him actually shot one of them with the BB gun. I know these kids were shooting BB guns illegally, but I mean, really, the cops can't be shooting them with BB guns. And someone said, okay. So now this reminds of Trump. He didn't want any vets in wheelchairs in the parades, make them look bad. And it reminds me of Cheney and Bush when they decided not to show the bodies coming into Dover, Delaware. I lived in Delaware. Did they bother to ask the parents of the dead soldiers if that was okay? And I had a footnote in there somewhere in this rough draft because I always confuse Trump's number of draft dodges with number of bankruptcies. And I think there was like a 5 deferment Dick Cheney, and the missing money wasted on George Bush. He was the draft dodger. Okay, well, anyway, it also reminds me of George Bush taking somebody's family farm by eminent domain for a citizen subsidized sports arena in Texas when he owned some sports team. He didn't have to do it. Remember that song? Or have it there like the Beatles, have it standing there. And also remember George Bush couldn't get into a law school in Texas, but he got into Harvard. What do they call that, honey? The rich people's affinity, the rich for the...
Being the president's son.
Yeah, well, there's a name for it. Thank you. It's very rough, very rough.
Thank you, Jan.
Name.
And up next, we have Mr. John Ekstrom.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good, okay. This is a poem by Robinson Jeffers, and it's called Their Beauty Has More Meaning. Yesterday morning, enormous, the moon hung low on the ocean, round and yellow rose in the glow of dawn. The night herons flapping home wore dawn on their wings. Today, black is the ocean, black and sulfur the sky, and white seas leap. I honestly do not know which day is more beautiful. I know that tomorrow or next year or in 20 years, I shall not see such things. And it does not matter. It does not hurt. They will be here. And when the whole human race has been like me rubbed out, they will still be here. Storms, moon, and ocean. Dawn and the birds. And I say this, their beauty has more meaning than the whole human race and the race of birds.
Thank you, John. Up next, we have Julian Powers.
This is also kind of a rough draft. I just wrote it today. Flying squirrels, small, nimble, and sweet, their nervousness focused, not fighting, but riding the breeze, quick-witted and social, living life ego-free. For 2023, I strive to be more like a sugar glider, latching on to only the safety of trees. Thank you.
Really go on. Rough drafts are turning out really well so far. And now, for one more musical interlude, we have Mr. Ethan of the Macklers. Boom. Thank you, sir. Glad you're feeling better. And now we have the very unmutable Carol Weston.
Okay. Dead chicken. Death hangs like a dead chicken around my neck to punish me. After all, why do I have a right to survive for 4 years, while so many who I have loved before the age of 30 have walked over the threshold, carrying in their arms too many suicidal blades? Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. And now a quick interlude. I'm trying to get involved more on the open mic, which means I'll probably read my strange holiday poem from last week's Stone Soup Croutons, which is, of course, a series of poems that I write based on the open mic. And this is the one from this past Friday. A lot of it was urged on by Jen and James' poems about the homeless. It was a pity Bill Lewis had missed that one because he talked about that a lot. I could have added more, but this is what I got. Holiday limbo. Can't change your name to escape damnation like Saul, what's his name? Winters, an ombudsman's best friend, whiting out dead, left in the street. Tiny presents morticians scoop up in their bag before parents wake, excuse me. Christmas warriors armed with snakes camouflaged as silver tinsel throw stockings of grenades in ocean to teach others how to catch fish. They cry for death, who has heard same pleas from suicide bombers, ex-presidents belching names into recorders they plant on each other. Narcissists shouting own names before flying into buildings. Their hearts cold enough to believe homeless freeze to death for photo ops. Loud enough to bomb jazz clinics where blues croon mercifully in background. Safe for now, you can stay, drink to the fallen, last ones left who won't argue. And that's my 1.5 cents for tonight. And we are going to end off as we always do, or always like to anyway, with Mr. Van Looy back on the mic to take us home, to bring down the house and hoist it back up again.
Thanks, Chad. So I got an old poem here from when I worked at Pine Street Inn, first time back in the 80s, when the crisis of homelessness is really just getting intense. The sleeping souls at Pine Street Inn. My eyes are of no use. I see the sleeping forms, but the bright rainbow hues of their alive and dazzling centers are visible only to greater powers of apprehension and knowledge. My elephant memory is blind to the individuality of their names, and all I can see is the other side where their faces are indelibly imprinted. The child never separated from the mother, the feeling in the image. Crisis comes to me without intervention. My clientele is very special. I don't care what they look like. We've known each other too long for that. And I am old, old, old. No matter how I look, I've been around too many times, an ancient soul in modern time, doing the three-legged walk in a cult culture desecrated to youth. I'm the old man of the late shift, Zen advocate of the radical prophetic tradition. I see the narrow skull and smile sympathetic. Note the hair-swept bald spot and love what's underneath, deep beneath the facades, which are merely disguises for the stories of the rites, which commemorate the connection of the souls condensed like dew on the morning's assault, all the larger selves waiting for the next action, trembling beneath their histories and nestling in their scant flesh. Thank you. The Eastern world, it is exploding, violence blaring and bullets loading. You're old enough to kill, but not for voting. You don't believe in war, but what's that gun you're toting? And even the Jordan River has bodies floating. But you tell me over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Don't you understand what I'm trying to say? Can't you feel the fears I'm feeling today? If that button is pushed, there's no running away. There'll be no one to save with the world in a grave. Take a look around you, boy. It's bound to scare you, boy. Oh, you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Yeah, my blood's so mad, feels like coagulating. I'm sitting here just contemplating. Can't twist the truth, it knows no regulation. Handful of senators won't pass legislation, and marches alone can't bring integration when human respect is disintegrating. The whole world is just too frustrating, and you tell me and over and over again, my friend, I don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Think of all the hate there is in Red China. Take a long look at Selma, Alabama. You may leave for 4 days in space, but when you return, it's the same old place. The pounding of the drums, the pride and disgrace. You can bury your dead, but don't leave a trace. Hate your neighbor next door, but don't forget to say grace. And you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. No, 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 you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Thanks, folks.
Thank you, James, and a sad but nice way to go out for 2022. Better things coming for Stone Soup, especially as we approach our 52nd anniversary. The Sarah Jensen tribute will hopefully be happening later in January. I'm sending out news to Dwayne of the 4 Point Arts community to see what day would be open. I'm hoping people like Jim Dunn and other friends would be open heading out. If we could do it even on a weekend, I'd be willing to do that. We're gonna make some announcements, hopefully sooner rather than later, including for future features for the online community as well as for the in-person community. And hopefully those two areas will mesh and meet sooner than we think. Thank you guys for being here in this for 2022. I hope wherever you do for New Year's Eve, it's safe and fun as it can be. Stay safe foremost, but if you can keep happy and be with a loved one and take care of yourself and take care of someone else, like Nico, Julian's pug, then that's a good thing. We're gonna do the last wave of 2022, not the last wave ever. Thanks everyone for your help and support all these months. It's really meant a lot for, again, this double dumpster fire of a year. Let's go for a triple deck of dumpster fires next year. We can do it, can't we? Enough of that. Have yourselves a great night, everyone, and submit to Oddball Magazine if you haven't already. There'll be more notices for places to submit in the future, more contests, and that's it for now. That's all I got. Stay tuned to the Stone Soup Facebook group. That's the easiest group to update. News carries there first, and have a good night, and hope to see you all at the other end of 2022.
Thank you, Chad. Good night, everyone. Happy New
Night.
Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New
New Year.
Year.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Happy New
night.
Year, guys.
Good
It's almost
night.
the end of 22. Hide.